Hey everybody. So I am making this video because after I made a post today about the coffee that I drank and the things that I started experiencing, people have been asking me questions and wanting to talk to me about it, and I figure if I make a video, it'll just be easier than talking to every single person one-on-one, because that's a lot of talking, and just for anybody, and for a person with asthma, like I have severe chronic asthma, it's a lot of talking for me to talk to every single person. So I figured I'd make a video, and that would make things a little easier, and I could answer lots of people and go into more depth. I know I said I wasn't going to talk very much about it, and I just wanted to post little things here and there to just kind of like give you a little sneak peek as to what's going on, because it's just too good not to tell. But I mean, I can't really keep a good secret, because like when I say life changing, I really, really mean what that phrase means. I mean it. It's not a throwaway phase for me. I have to go back and kind of explain my post and why I feel the way that I do. I have had asthma my entire life. And I mean, I've been no stranger to asthma attacks plenty of times. And they're very scary. If anyone has asthma, and I mean actual asthma and severe, especially those with severe asthma, it's a really, really scary thing to go through when you just have random attacks. And they're not something you can logic your way through, because when you can't breathe, the fear of God really sets in, okay? It's really serious. And I've had it, like I said, most of my life. Since childhood was when we first found out that I had it, and I used an inhaler then when I was a kid. And then for some time into early adulthood, I didn't really need an inhaler anymore and didn't use it very much, until the point where I just didn't use it at all. And I thought, oh, maybe I just grew out of it. You know, maybe that's possible. And so I just never went and got refills for the medication or anything like that, because to me, I didn't need it. And so I went on in life like this, and up until the last 2 years, I want to say, about 2 years ago, I had a severe asthma attack that came out of nowhere, completely unprompted. And I've told this story only to a couple of friends, so not everybody knows it, and you're about to find out right now. When I had just come home from the grocery store, and I was talking to my husband, and I kept coughing. I had this like constant chronic dry cough, and it just kept persisting. But with just the minutes rolling by, it was getting worse and worse and worse, and much stronger coughing. And my throat was very agitated. And it was only when I wanted to run into the kitchen. I don't know why I really wanted to run into the kitchen, maybe for cool air from the freezer, I don't know. But it was only then, as I started to do that, that it hit me that I was actually having a full-blown asthma attack, because I had forgotten about them. And it hit me so fast. And that's when the fear of God struck me, because I realized really quick, I have not filled a prescription in a long time. So I did not have one. I did not have an emergency inhaler. And I dropped to the floor. When you are lacking oxygen like that, you eventually become weak. Oh. Sorry. I will have to pause the video because, hold on. Okay. So when you lose oxygen like that, you get really weak really fast. And my throat was closing up and it was swelling, and I couldn't get any air in or out. So I couldn't even talk. And my husband was asking me questions that I couldn't answer. And as I just dropped to the floor, all liquids just started pouring out of every end you can think of. It's very undignified. And I saw the room begin to darken, as some people probably have said about near-death experiences. And I had this sudden awareness that I was dying. And I thought, oh, this is it? This is how I go? Oh man, this is so undignified. Oh, there couldn't have been another way on my kitchen floor. Oh man. So at this point, I don't have a lot of awareness or remembrance of what happened, but my family has explained it to me because my daughter was there and my husband was there. And he said he figured out that it was an asthma attack pretty fast. And he asked my daughter to stay with me, and he said he went real fast into the garage, and there he had a box full of junk. Okay, so he had to actually search really fast through junk and had seconds to spare only, and found what he knew was an old inhaler he had not used. And it was recently given to him because he had been sick, and they just gave him an inhaler to help him, like pneumonia and things like that. And so he knew he had it, and he grabbed it, went back into the house, and I just remember coming to and having a big gasp of air with someone, I don't remember who, holding the inhaler in my mouth and squeezing it. So obviously the medication was able to penetrate my throat and open my airway. And when I took that big gasp of air, I really gathered how fragile things were and how fast they could go for me. And it just scared the ever-living everything out of me. So I don't like crying in front of people. I was super glad, obviously, oh boy, that my husband was able to get the emergency medication. And when the moment passed, I thought, okay, that was just a one-off experience, but he was really terrified. So he said, just keep the inhaler with you. And I thought, oh, that's really smart. So I did. I kept it in my purse. Everywhere I went, I took it with me. And when it was about just this last December, right before Christmas, and I had a dental procedure done. A normal dental procedure where they pulled the back wisdom teeth. My wisdom teeth were all the way sideways. They were about to rip through my gums. It was super painful. So they removed them. It was a simple pull. Little numbing, little pull, in and out in a day, no problems. And I went home, and after that, I ended up producing so much phlegm, so much mucus. It consistently kept blocking my airways, and my throat kept swelling. And it was chronic and it was persistent. And at first we thought, oh, I just have a cold, but this is an awful cold. So I kept trying to take Mucinex and all kinds of, the normal cold remedies you would take. But it wasn't working. And at this point, it should have worked, because then months had passed by and it wasn't working. And I was having asthma attacks every day. And at some point, I had to stop talking altogether. And I began to learn sign language to communicate with my family. Things I wanted to eat, and, making tacos with extra cheese on it, and all those things, because I couldn't speak anymore. And when you lose your speech, you lose so much freedom. I have a new appreciation for people who are deaf or just simply can't speak. I have a new appreciation for you. It was very terrifying. How do you communicate to your loved ones when something is happening to you? And so I even have a new appreciation for nonverbal autistic people. It's like being in a prison, or people with, I think it's ASL. It's like being in a prison, unable to communicate. And that lasted for a while, but at some point, because I couldn't talk, because every time I spoke, it would make me cough and it would trigger an attack. And I didn't want to have to keep taking the inhaler. But at some point, even with not talking, they started to persist anyway. And I would get, according to my family, blue in the face, and just, I'm coughing so hard and I can't breathe. And I keep trying to take the inhaler, but I'm taking it too much. You're not supposed to take those things too much. It shouldn't be more than twice a week at maximum. And I'm taking it every single day, several times a day, to stay alive. To stay alive. I don't think people appreciate the fact that you just breathe automatically every day. You don't even have to think about it. You just keep doing it. And that was the thing that I was trying to do consciously, and I couldn't do it. So at some point, I just had one particular day where it was so bad. I used the inhaler at least, I want to say 7 times that day. And it's still, I was wheezing, like it felt like I was breathing through a cocktail straw. Have you ever seen how small a cocktail straw is? That's what it felt like, how much air I could get in or out. And so it felt like I was being suffocated to death. We went to the emergency room, and they were able to give me prednisone, and I was able to get a breathing treatment, but that wasn't a long-term solution. So quickly after that, I started having tons of allergic reactions to all kinds of food I have never had allergic reactions to in my life. And I have always eaten mostly vegetables, because I'm a very big veggie person. I like to grow them, and I just really enjoy them. And so that's predominantly what I've always eaten. And at this point, I could not eat almost all of them anymore, and almost any seasoning. The only thing I could really handle was salt or garlic or onion. It was just, and it was, I didn't want to touch the herbs because I didn't know what would affect me or not. It was so scary because everything would trigger the asthmatic attack constantly. And I have arthritis already, fibromyalgia, all kinds of chronic stuff that's really frustrating to deal with, amongst many other things, and heart problems. And so I thought, oh, great. One more thing, let's just keep adding to it. And so I wasn't even able to, because remember, I ate a lot of vegetables. At one point, I was just not able to eat almost anything. And so there would be days I would go without food, and oh my gosh. If you've ever been on an extreme diet, you know at some point you're like, I gotta eat. And it's just so bad, and then you want to eat something, anything, but you don't know what's gonna kill you. you know? So I was struggling with that. And then my mom introduced the idea of just eating raw garlic. Literally raw garlic was helping to bring down the inflammation pretty rapidly, and some celery juice. And she said, we'll figure it out. My mom is a naturopathic practitioner, so she's really good about finding stuff like that. And I was okay. I've been using it like a crutch until a couple of days ago, when even that wasn't helping enough. And I was still starting to have asthmatic cough. It's like my body keeps building up this tolerance and I don't know what it's trying to do, but I'm kind of mad at it a little bit. And then she sent me, I had tried the coffee. I tried Root Brand's coffee when she was here. Now, I'm someone who has totally shot adrenals, horrible adrenals. And I could not drink coffee unless it was decaf, and only like a little bit, like not even a fourth of a cup, because it just made me sick. Just made me feel sick constantly. And the medication I have to take makes me sick too. So I never want to trigger an asthma attack, because even though the medication helps me breathe on an emergency, it makes me sick, like really sick. And so did caffeine, coffee. So I had my mom visiting, and she goes, oh, try this. Here's some coffee, try this coffee. And I'm like, Mom, I can't have coffee. I cannot have coffee. It really makes me sick. She goes, oh, it'll just give you energy. And I thought, okay. It's going to be a sick day, I guess, today. So she can see that I can't have coffee. I'll drink it, and then I'm going to be sick, and she's going to see that I just can't have coffee. And then maybe she'll leave me alone about it. And I drank it that first day, and I didn't get the jitters. I didn't feel nauseous. I didn't feel dizzy. I had focus and mental clarity like never before. I struggle with like ADHD. It's bad. And my sister has it too. And it's like something that just kind of like runs in our family. But all of a sudden I had mental focus and clarity and no jitters and no nausea. I thought that's very interesting. Okay. And so she's like, how do you feel? And I'm like, and not only that, it tastes unlike any coffee that I've ever had. There's no coffee that tastes like that. And I'm like, are you sure this is coffee? I mean, it kind of tastes like coffee, but not any coffee I've ever tried. And it's just like more nutty and buttery, and it just tastes different. It tastes delicious. But she was like, oh, she just smiled. She's like, hey, are you feeling good? Are you feeling energy? I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling great. So I kept drinking it. After they left, I took some of the leftovers that they had brought on their vacation, and I used it up. And then I said, oh no, I have no more coffee. It didn't occur to me to pay attention to this beforehand, but I noticed it today. Because my mom then said there was like about a 24-hour-ish, 36-hour period of where I didn't have it. And she sent a bag immediately, and it came really fast. They don't live too far. And I got the bag, and I had my first cup in that small gap yesterday. I woke up with energy at 7:30 a.m. That does not happen to me. Anyone who knows me personally knows I have chronic fatigue syndrome. It doesn't happen to me. I am so tired all the time, and I pretend real well like I'm not. And a lot of times I have to take a nap, and I woke up like naturally, no alarm, at 7:30 a.m., just bing, ready for the day. Oh, I feel so good. And I didn't even make my coffee until 3 hours later today. And that was the first moment that I noticed, and I wish I had noticed it before so I could have known, but I noticed it today. I had woken up with an asthmatic cough, and by the time I finished the entire cup of coffee, which I've never been able to do in my life, I did not have an asthmatic cough, and I felt like I could breathe. Like a full breath. When you constantly have a normal of lots of pain and struggling to breathe, and that's your normal, and then it suddenly goes away, there's no word for it. I wish I could figure out a word for like the kind of freedom and relief that you feel from something like that. But I can't think of the word or words. But I can tell you this, as I'm not making a medical claim here. There's no medical claim. I'm sure it's all coincidence. Okay, and I've always been that girl who I like to go and I like to look at the NIH and I like to go to PubMed and I like to see research-backed data. I'm that girl, and I'm very skeptical of everything. I'm not a pessimist, so I would never go that far to go, I just don't believe anything. That's not true. I'm just skeptical. I like to, with a degree of scrutiny on everything. I don't know the science behind this. I have not seen any research data on this. I can only tell you that I drank the coffee for 2 days now, twice, in a 36-hour period, it looks like. And my asthma is not showing any symptoms. Complete coincidence, I'm sure, and absolutely nothing more. Also, a lot of the inflammation I typically feel in all my joints magically just disappeared today after I drank the full cup of coffee. Coincidentally, completely unrelated, I'm sure. And after years of dealing with that and having no release and no outlet and nothing that would ever even last, and I just drank 1 cup of coffee and it just disappeared like magic. Like magic, and I'm sure it is just a coincidence and nothing more. The amount of freedom I feel for this beautiful stroke of luck and coincidence, there are no real words for the appreciation. I do not ever want to stop drinking this coffee. And I'm not saying that it's the coffee, because there are no claims. It's just a weird and magical, lucky happenstance, just out of nowhere. I'm sure that's all that it is and nothing more. Couldn't be the only thing that I've ever changed. That can't be that. Nope. Complete coincidence, absolutely, and nothing more. I don't know what is in that coffee, and I don't know how they made it, and I don't understand it. But I do know this. I drank a cup of coffee, and I had the most weird, coincidental thing ever happen to me. And if you want to be a part of a club of people who I've met and gotten to know, full of them having coincidences too, you could join us and we can have coincidences all together. All of us, we can all have coincidences happening. We can be in the coincidence club. I'm sure you'd be welcome, and we can all find out how many different coincidences we can have, because it's a coincidence and nothing more, for sure, absolutely. Can't explain it. All I can tell you is how I feel. All I can tell you is this stream of weird coincidental events that happened that led up to this point. So, Dr. Christina, I don't know what you did. I love your coffee. How about that? I love your coffee. It tastes wonderful, and I get so much great energy from it. And I had this weird coincidence that has nothing to do with the coffee happen, and I would love for more people to have coincidences like me. And we don't ever make any medical claims, right? Because they would shut it down, and then I wouldn't have my coffee. We are not going to talk about that. It's all a coincidence. It's a coincidence, and we're in the club of coincidences. And so I guess I feel like an inductee. Welcome to the club, me, in the club of coincidences. You, me, if you're interested in having a coincidence, we can have a coincidence together. How about that? Coincidence and nothing more. Absolutely certain. 100%. So thank you. Thanks, Mom. I really appreciate it.